And you're asking for a judgment in the amount of $10,000 for violation of privacy on Apple devices.
So several months ago, I noticed that my microphone on my laptop was turning on, even when I was visiting websites where I had checked the box deny on my browser. So in other words, I would go to YouTube or I would go to Facebook or other pages where video or audio were playing, and I would see the microphone icon turn on.
And again, what's in front of me is whether you've proven that you have to prove two things: whether your privacy was actually invaded, which I can't find, and then based on whatever damages may be in place. And obviously, I'm not finding on either of that.
Can't stop, won't stop, never stop. Can't stop, won't stop, never.
So Mr. Pond and Mr. Moss. So Mr. Moss, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down. So you're going to have to explain to me. Let's see, just a second. You submitted some things, including several screenshots.
Yes.
Of and you're asking for a judgment in the amount of $10,000 for violation of privacy on Apple devices. And I guess I'm going to require you to explain to me how I can get there from here.
Sure.
To use a phrase I just used in the last case.
So several months ago, I noticed that my microphone on my laptop was turning on, even when I was visiting websites where I had checked the box deny on my browser. So in other words, I would go to YouTube or I would go to Facebook or other pages where video or audio were playing, and I would see the microphone icon turn on. So I got concerned about that because I thought I might be surreptitiously recorded by Apple. And are they recording what I'm saying? Are they recording sounds from my living room? I didn't know. So I contacted Apple support. Well, actually, first I looked online to see if anyone else was having the same concern. And so I submitted that screenshot of a thread in the Apple support forums where several other people were commenting, and it seemed like the problem was pretty widespread. So people were having the microphone turn on regardless of whether or not you had selected deny for the website that you were visiting. So YouTube is a great example. The microphone would just turn on randomly. So I started a thread with Apple support. I have the case number here, and I submitted that email as well. That correspondence started in early June, and the last email I sent, I expressed concerns about my privacy, and I said I'll look into legal action if I don't hear back. That was June 28th, and so never heard back. And so I'm here really primarily for accountability, and I want to understand what's happening. Is my privacy being violated? Apple touts this as one of their primary mission statements, is the privacy of the users. And if they're recording me in my living room, that seems like a violation of that mission statement and their policies.
Okay. Well, let me hear from Mr. Pond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to affirm the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
You can put your hand down.
Mm-hmm.
So you're Nate Pond from Apple?
That is correct.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So just recapping the timeline of events that at Apple that we have for our interaction with the plaintiff. On June 10, 2024, the customer reached out to Apple support, our support arm channel, and reported that, quote, the microphone on my computer opens automatically across all kinds of websites, including YouTube, and there's no way to stop it from happening. He did provide a thread to Apple's discussion forums where other users were reporting the same issue. And so when a customer reports that they're having this kind of issue. Oftentimes, if the advisor doesn't have the information immediately present to them when customers report issues to us, we sometimes need to do investigations into them to figure out why is this happening. The issue that he's reporting, let's gather data, let's figure it out. That is what happened in this case. So on June 11, his advisor sent what's called a request for technical assistance. That is when we gather all the information about everything that's being reported, and we send it to a team called Site Support Engineering, or SSE. And what this means is this is our team of engineers and the people that interface with those engineers who actually dive into these issues that maybe we haven't seen, or maybe that we're investigating, and figures them out, either provides a quick answer or digs into to figure these things out. So that happened on June 11. And then on the same day, SSE, Site Support Engineering, I'll just say SSE for brevity. They asked for, okay, can you gather some additional information from the customer and from the customer's device, which again, this is very common that we'll do. So we reached out on June 13, the advisor reached out to the customer to gain permission to provide access to all that information. And these are computer log files, everything that the computer might have been doing at that time, so that we can then look at that and figure out what is happening here with what's being reported. So that happened on June 13. And then on June 17, SSE informed the plaintiff's advisor to, hey, reach out to him and let him know of the following. That Apple has received reports of the symptom you described and is currently investigating this issue. Keep your software up to date. You may also want to check the support website from time to time for possible updates about this issue. Further updates, if any, may come by way of a software update, knowledge base article, or software release. Okay, so very, very common that with a software issue, we say that, resolution from this may come from like a software update, but that we'd received reports and that we were looking into it. The next day, the advisor requested an update, but SSE replied, we can't speculate on the outcome of an investigation. Again, we're looking into this issue. We've kind of shared our response. We have nothing more to share at this time. On June 20th, the advisor shared asking that the customer has asked for an update, but there was no further update. And then we didn't hear anything further on this matter until more than a month later, on July 25th, where the customer emailed Apple asking for an update, but there's no record of Apple replying or contacting the customer at that time. And then there's no further record our end until we ended up getting the summons. I have been advised through Apple did an internal investigation on this and looked into it, dug into the details, and I wanted to share what they found was that there was no impact. There ultimately, after digging into it, there was no impact to the customer's privacy. However, it may have appeared, there was no impact to his privacy, and also that the issue was resolved through software updates. So in the same way, from what was found, the issue was resolved through software updates. Privacy is very important to us as a company, and so fortunately there was no impact to the customer's privacy. And then finally, what we would share is that in regards to liability, or the money that is being asked for by the plaintiff, we would point to our public facing Apple Care Plus terms and conditions, which that is the service under which we were providing the plaintiff with service, was under the Apple Care Plus for Mac service that he had. And under those terms and conditions, it, under Section 8 of our limitations of liability, states that Apple specifically does not warrant that the operation of the product will be uninterrupted and error-free. So we do stipulate that under our limitations of liability. But that would be our case and our side in this matter.
Okay, so Mr. Moss, I'm going to come back to you. You know, that thing was on. Do you know, you said I'm concerned I was being recorded and my privacy was invaded. Do you know what was happening? Were you being recorded, or do you just assume that, or were you think
Oh,
that, or maybe, or what exactly?
oh, I didn't know this. This is why I was contacting Apple to support to understand, but I have the email. I don't think,
No, I know that, but I mean,
Yeah.
do you know if you were ever recorded?
well, no, this is why I'm here, is I'm wanting to
Right.
know with certainty. So I appreciate what Mr. Pond has
So
shared.
I'm
Yeah.
going to stop you for a second.
Yeah.
And tell you this. So you're a plaintiff in a lawsuit. Anytime anyone's a plaintiff in a lawsuit, they have a responsibility or a burden of proof, you know, and in criminal cases, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And it's in civil cases, which this is, it is small claims, but still it's a civil lawsuit, even though attorneys aren't allowed.
Yeah.
You know, you have a responsibility, you have a burden of proof. So you brought say they're invading my privacy. So one, you have to convince me that your privacy was actually invaded. And or recorded somehow, and then following that, you have to show what your damages are, and then I do that. And as far as I can tell, you know, I don't know what was going. I mean, I'll admit I go on YouTube quite a lot, and and I don't know whether you were being recorded when you went on YouTube or not, and it doesn't sound like you do either. And if you can't show that you're recorded and your privacy was actually invaded, then, you know, the case doesn't, you know, really can't go beyond that. You see what I mean?
I totally see what you mean, but the
And
screenshots
I can't give you a judgment. I can't speculate, well, your privacy may have been invaded or something like that. I'm not allowed to do that.
I understand. The screenshots I sent were purposely geared toward demonstrating that the microphone was turned on even when I had access denied in my browser. So to me, that's proof that a microphone was active on my computer, even when I had denied it access. So I think that's proof enough on the face of it. I'd like to know what the proof is that I was not being recorded, given that this icon that says the microphone is on is in the actual photo that I took on my computer.
So, well, first of all, like I say, you don't need to see, they're not required to prove anything. They don't have to prove that it's not. You have to prove that it was.
Well, the microphone being on seems to prove it.
That's the fact the micro's on, that doesn't prove anything other than the fact that there's an icon that says the microphone was on. Doesn't say it's being, doesn't say it's going anywhere. Doesn't know where it's being received by anyone. And Apple doesn't sound like Mr. Pond knows that either. I don't know whether Apple as an entity does or not. But again, it's your responsibility as a plaintiff to prove that. And
how could I prove that?
Well, I can't give you advice on how to do that. You don't want me instructing Apple how to conduct their case, and they don't want me telling you how to conduct your case. I can't do that. And so you can talk to a lawyer, you know, you can speak to a lawyer, and they may give you some direction, but that's what lawyers do, is they give people direction and advice as to how to win their cases. I decide who wins the cases. I can't tell one side how to do that.
I can appreciate that.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
But for today, and again, based on the evidence presented, I'm finding you haven't met your burden, and the case will be dismissed.
Okay. May I ask one question?
Yes.
Okay. This is for Mr. Pond. Why go through
Well,
all of this?
You're not.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you don't. I mean, well, go ahead. You can ask the question if you want.
No, I'm just curious. Why go through all of this if this is the end result? Like, you could have had Apple support respond to me and say, "Hey, software update, we got it fixed."
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead, Mr. Pond, if you want to answer
that. Certainly, you know, looking at the case record, you knowing that seems like it would have headed this off for you. What I will share is just from our information, you know, when investigations are done, we don't you don't always get to hear like how those pan out, which I know certainly is frustrating. However, the you, I am glad to be able to share that the issue was resolved with no impact to your privacy.
Okay,
And that we're able to work on it.
I'll have to take your word for it, right?
Okay,
Thank
look,
you,
we're
Your
not going
Honor.
to have that discussion. Again, what's in front of me is whether you've proven that you have to prove two things, whether your privacy was actually invaded, which I can't find, and then based on whatever damages may be in place. And obviously, I'm not finding on either of that, but I mean,
I get it.
you can
I
you can
appreciate
get
that.
on any message board and comment on Apple's practices, but that's what's going to happen here today.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you both are free to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
We will not give up. Ah!